Kent Fenton was in his element, camera rolling as he narrated another episode of his YouTube series, UFO Files. Dressed in his signature black t-shirt emblazoned with a glowing alien head and cargo shorts, he stood in his backyard, ready to debunk, or maybe half-heartedly entertain, the idea of alien visitors. "Welcome back, truth seekers," he said into the lens, his voice brimming with mock seriousness. "Tonight, we're investigating whether your own backyard could be a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity. Spoiler alert, it's probably not, but let's pretend it is." He was just about to point out a mysterious light in the sky, Venus, but his viewers didn't need to know that when the heavens decided to upstage him. The night sky erupted in a blinding flash, as if someone had set off a fireworks display directly overhead. A fiery streak tore through the atmosphere, followed by a deafening boom that rattled the windows of his modest ranch-style house. Something crashed into the earth just beyond his fence, sending up a plume of smoke and a sharp, acrid smell that stung his nose. "Holy crap," Kent muttered, his camera forgotten as he bolted toward the impact site. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and exhilaration. This wasn't part of the script, but it sure as hell felt real. As he rounded the broken fence post, he skidded to a halt, his breath catching in his throat. There, framed by the swirling smoke and dust, stood a figure unlike anything he'd ever seen. She was small, barely reaching 5 feet, but her presence was anything but diminutive. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent glow, shifting subtly under the moonlight like liquid mercury mixed with stardust. Her hair was a cascade of midnight black, flowing like oil on water, each strand moving independently as if caught in an invisible current. And she was naked, completely, unapologetically naked. Kent's brain stuttered. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a dream. This was real. "I apologize for the intrusion," she said, her voice a melodic chime that seemed to resonate through the air. "My ship experienced a technical difficulty." "Ship? Technical difficulty?" Kent's mind reeled. He fumbled with his camera, instinctively turning it off. This moment felt too intimate, too surreal for public consumption. No worries," he managed to say, his voice shaky but trying to sound casual. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" She tilted her head slightly, her glowing golden eyes studying him with an intensity that made him feel both exposed and oddly flattered. "I am functional," she replied, her tone calm and measured. "But I require shelter and perhaps some assistance with my vessel." "You are Kent Fenton." "Yeah, that's me," he said, still trying to process the fact that an alien knew his name. "And you are?" "Kaylee," she answered, stepping closer with a grace that seemed almost otherworldly. "From the planet Lura. I have come to Earth on a mission, and it appears you are part of that mission." "Mission? Part of it?" Kent's curiosity spiked, but so was his apprehension. "What kind of mission?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. Kaylee's lips curved into a faint smile, and for a moment, the lights along her skin pulsed in a slow, rhythmic pattern. "That is a conversation for inside," she said. "May I enter your dwelling?" Still in a daze, Kent nodded. "Sure, come on in. Let's get you sorted out." As they walked back to the house, Kent's heart raced, a whirlwind of emotions coursing through him. Fear, excitement, and a strange sense of destiny. This was no ordinary night. This was the story of a lifetime, and it was just beginning. Kent ushered Kaylee into his kitchen, the faint hum of his camera's battery dying still echoing in his ears from the backyard chaos. The room was a mess of half-edited UFO conspiracy scripts pinned to a corkboard, a coffee-stained mug with "Beam Me Up" scrawled on it, and a flickering overhead light he swore he'd fixed last month. He grabbed an oversized hoodie from the back of a chair, gray, faded, with a cartoon alien giving a thumbs up, and handed it to her. "Here, put this on," he said, averting his eyes as she slipped it over her head. The hoodie swallowed her petite frame, the hem brushing her thighs, but somehow she made it look like high fashion from another galaxy. Her shimmering skin peeked out at the cuffs, catching the light like a prism. "Thank you," Kaylee said, her voice still that melodic chime, now softened by the warmth of the room. She tugged at the sleeves, studying the alien graphic with a faint smirk. This is ironic. Kent chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, I guess it is now. He busied himself at the counter, pulling out a bag of frozen burgers and a skillet. You hungry? I'm no chef, but I can grill a mean burger. Figured you might need something after crash landing in my yard. Kaylee tilted her head, her black hair shifting like a dark river under the kitchen fluorescence. Sustenance would be appreciated. My systems are stable, but I am curious about Earth's offerings. As the patties sizzled, filling the air with a greasy, comforting aroma, Kent leaned against the counter, arms crossed. So, Kaylee from Lura, what's this mission you're dragging me into? She sat at his rickety table, legs crossed elegantly despite the oversized hoodie, and fixed him with those molten gold eyes. My species, the Lurani, face extinction. A genetic flaw has rendered us nearly infertile. I am the last of my kind capable of renewal, and our scans identified Earth as a compatible source for genetic material. Kent flipped a burger, the spatula trembling slightly in his hand. Genetic material? You mean like DNA? From me? Precisely, she said, unfazed. Our ship's AI analyzed your broadcasts, your YouTube, and filtered millions of candidates. Your videos stood out. The one where you spoke of welcoming the unknown, shirtless under the stars, gesturing with such vigor. It has over 200,000 views across the galaxy now. He nearly dropped the spatula, a laugh bubbling up. Wait, that one. The drunk rant I posted after a meteor shower? I was half joking about alien pen pals. Kaylee's lips twitched, a rare hint of amusement breaking her serene demeanor. It demonstrated openness, resilience, and she paused, eyeing the smear of ketchup he just wiped off his forearm, manual dexterity. Desirable traits. Kent slid a burger onto a plate, topped it with a slice of cheese that melted into gooey perfection, and handed it to her with a side of fries. Well, damn. Guess I'm flattered. Try this. Earth's finest fast food. She took a cautious bite, her eyes widening as the flavors hit. A dab of grease glistened on her lips, and she licked it off with a flicker of curiosity. Salty, warm, chaotic. I like it, she declared, then popped a fry in her mouth, crunching thoughtfully. Your planet is strange, Kent Fenton. Yeah, tell me about it, he said, grinning as he sat across from her with his own plate. So what's next? You just crash here, eat my burgers, and what? Borrow my DNA? Kaylee set the burger down, leaning forward slightly, the hoodie slipping to reveal a sliver of her glowing collarbone. Not borrow. Integrate. But first, I must assess you fully, your compatibility, your willingness. This is not a demand. It is a proposal. Kent swallowed hard, the burger suddenly forgotten. Assess me how? Her gaze locked onto his, intense yet inviting, and the lights along her skin pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Through connection, she said softly. A process my people call binding. It is intimate, but I can ensure it remains a trial, nothing permanent. Yet, his pulse quickened, a mix of nerves and intrigue swirling in his chest. Okay, he said, voice low. I am listening. As she finished her fries, Kent realized this night wasn't just content for his channel. It was something bigger, weirder, and way more personal than he'd ever imagined. Kent led Kaylee down the hall to his bedroom, the air thick with a buzzing tension he couldn't quite name. The room was a cluttered shrine to his UFO obsession. Posters of grainy saucer photos taped to the walls, a lava lamp casting a dim red glow, and a bed with mismatched sheets he hadn't made in a week. He shut the door behind them, the click of the latch sounding louder than it should have. Kaylee turned to face him, the oversized hoodie slipping slightly to reveal the curve of her shoulder, where her skin shimmered like a galaxy trapped under glass. This binding you mentioned, Kent said, his voice rougher than he intended. What's it involve exactly? She stepped closer, her golden eyes catching the lava lamp's light like twin suns. It is how my people test compatibility, she said, her voice a warm hum that seemed to vibrate through his chest, emerging a body and mind. I share my essence, my memories, my being with you, and you with me. It ensures harmony, but I can limit it to a trial. No lasting bond unless I choose it. Kent's breath hitched. So it's intimate? Very, she replied, her lips curling into a knowing smile. The lights along her skin pulsed softly, a rhythm that matched the thudding in his ears. Would you like to experience it? He swallowed, his mouth dry, but nodded. Yeah, show me. With no hesitation, Kaylee let the hoodie fall to the floor, a soft thud against the carpet. She stood there, radiant and unapologetic, her body a sculpture of light and shadow that defied Earth's gravity. Kent's pulse raced as he shrugged off his alien head t-shirt, letting it join the hoodie in a heap. The air between them crackled like static before a storm. She reached for him, her fingers warm and buzzing faintly against his chest, pulling him into a kiss that hit like a shockwave, soft, fierce, and electric all at once. It wasn't just lips meeting. It was a current, a surge that made his skin tingle and his mind blur. As they pressed closer, her hands sliding down his sides with a confidence that left him dizzy, flashes of memory sparked behind his eyes. Hers, not his. He saw Allura's towering crystal spires glinting under a violet sky, felt the ache of her lonely journey across stars. In return, she must have glimpsed his late-night rants, the quiet pride of his little channel, the way he'd always half-hoped for something like this. They stumbled to the bed, a tangle of limbs and heat, her hair spilling over the pillow like ink on water. She moved with a fluid grace, guiding him with an intensity that felt both alien and achingly familiar. Every touch sent a ripple through him, a low hum under his skin like he was plugged into her orbit. I can stop the bond here, she murmured against his ear, her breath hot and teasing. No deeper, unless you want it. Keep going, he rasped, too caught up to care about the consequences. The room seemed to fade as they hit a crescendo, her skin flaring with bursts of light that danced across the walls like a meteor shower. She arched against him, a sound escaping her, a sharp, melodic cry that made the lava lamp flicker and dim. Kent followed, a rush that left him breathless, stars bursting behind his lids as if he'd launched into space himself. They collapsed together, sweat slick and panting, the afterglow humming between them like a live wire. Kent stared at the ceiling, his chest heaving, and let out a shaky laugh. That was cosmic. Kaylee propped herself on an elbow, her hair wild and her skin still glowing faintly. You performed admirably, she said, a smug edge to her tone. I estimate an 85% compatibility rating. Room for improvement, perhaps. Only 85? He grinned, turning to face her. Guess I'll have to up my game. She traced a finger down his jaw, her touch sending a residual spark through him. You will have the chance, she promised, her eyes molten and mischievous. Kent lay back, still reeling. This wasn't just a close encounter. It was a collision, and he was already hooked on wherever it might lead. The morning sun filtered through Kent's dusty blinds, casting slanted beams across the bedroom, where he and Kaylee lay tangled in the sheets. The lava lamp had burned out sometime in the night, leaving a faint smoky scent mingling with the musk of their earlier collision. Kent propped himself up on one elbow, watching Kaylee as she stretched languidly, her shimmering skin catching the light like a prism breaking dawn into colors he didn't have names for. The hoodie lay forgotten on the floor, and she made no move to retrieve it. So, he started, his voice still gravelly from sleep and whatever cosmic marathon they'd run hours ago. What happens now? You zap back to Allura with a piece of me in tow. Kaylee turned her head, her golden eyes soft but piercing, her black hair spilling over the pillow like a dark halo. I could, she said, her tone thoughtful, almost teasing. The ship's repairs will complete soon, but leaving would mean ending us before it begins. I'd rather not. Kent blinked, his chest tightening in a way that wasn't just leftover adrenaline. You'd stay? Here? With me? She sat up, the sheet slipping just enough to reveal the curve of her shoulder, a subtle glow pulsing where her skin met the sunlight. If you'll have me, she replied, her voice a warm hum that settled into his bones. My mission was to find compatibility, but I've found more. You're not just a candidate, Kent Fenton. You're unexpected. Open. Real. He laughed, a low, shaky sound, running a hand through his messy hair. Real, huh? That's a first. Most people just call me the UFO nut with a decent jump cut game. Kaylee's lips quirked, a flicker of amusement dancing in her eyes. I've seen your videos. The passion you pour into them. The way you face the unknown without fear. It's why I chose you. But now, after last night, she reached out, her fingers brushing his, sending a faint spark up his arm. I want this. Us. Not just for Lura, but for me. Kent stared at her hand in his, the warmth of her touch grounding him in a moment that felt too big, too wild to grasp. He'd spent years chasing shadows in the sky, but here was the real thing. Alien, beautiful, and looking at him like he was more than a conspiracy theorist with a webcam. The weight of it hit him, not as a burden, but as a chance. Okay, he said finally, squeezing her hand. Let's figure this out together. Stay. We'll fix your ship, sure, but maybe we can do more, like, I don't know, use my channel to help your people. Call it UFO Files, the Lura Chronicles. Keep it vague, keep it fun, but get the word out. Her smile widened, bright as a supernova, and the lights along her skin flared briefly, a silent cheer. A partnership, she said, leaning closer until her breath grazed his lips. I like that. And perhaps, she paused, her tone dipping into that melodic tease again. More bindings, to refine your compatibility score. Kent grinned, pulling her into a kiss that was slower this time, less electric but deeper, like a promise taking root. Deal, he murmured against her mouth. But you're gonna have to try my coffee next. If we're saving galaxies together, you'll need the good stuff. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm, and nestled against him, her head on his chest. Outside, the world spun on, oblivious to the pact forming in a cluttered bedroom. For Kent, it wasn't just about aliens anymore. It was about her and whatever insane, beautiful future they'd stumble into side by side. 6 months later, Kent stood on his back porch, barefoot in the cool morning air, a chipped beamy-up mug steaming with coffee in one hand and a baby monitor crackling in the other. The monitor was mostly useless. Little Orion, their squirming bundle of half-human, half-Lorani chaos, was already zipping around the yard, levitating a chewed-up tennis ball with a giggle that sounded like wind chimes on helium. The kid's golden eyes sparkled like Kaylee's, but his mop of black hair was all Kent, sticking up in every direction like he'd just rolled out a UFO crash himself. Behind him, the house buzzed with a new kind of normal. Kaylee waddled out of the kitchen, her belly round with her second kid, wearing Kent's old Area 51 gym t-shirt stretched tight across her frame. Her skin glowed brighter these days, a soft shimmer that pulsed with every kick from within. She held a spatula in one hand, flipping a pancake that smelled suspiciously like burnt stardust, her latest attempt at mastering Earth breakfasts. "Morning, Starman," she called, her voice a melodic tease as she waved the spatula like a scepter. Orion's levitating the neighbor's cat again. Should I intervene? Kent grinned, sipping his coffee. Nah, let Mr. Whiskers enjoy the ride. Builds character. He glanced at Orion, who'd now floated the tennis ball into a tree, cackling as it bonked a squirrel. Kid's got my aim and your flair. Kaylee laughed, padding over to join him, her bare feet silent on the weathered wood. The t-shirt barely covered her thighs, and the way the morning light danced off her skin made her look like a goddess who'd stumbled into a sitcom. She leaned against him, her warmth seeping through his flannel, and he felt a flutter from her belly, a tiny hello from the next chapter. "Channel's doing great," he said, nodding toward the garage where his laptop glowed with the latest UFO Files edit. Last episode hit 1 million views. You whispering those alien secrets in the background? Pure gold. Subscribers think it's a gimmick, but we know better. She smirked, her golden eyes glinting with mischief. I told them the stars sing lullabies. Half true. Orion's already humming them. She rubbed her belly, then tilted her head. Your coffee sustains me, though. Earth's finest fuel for intergalactic parenting. Kent chuckled, wrapping an arm around her. Glad you think so, because we're going to need a bigger pot. 2 kids levitating stuff? I'm building a containment unit. or at least a better fence. The past 6 months have been a whirlwind. After Kaylee's ship got patched up, they'd sent a signal to Lyra with a sample of Kent's DNA, paired with hers, a blueprint to reboot her species. The Lurani Council had pinged back gratitude in a language Kent still couldn't pronounce, promising to handle the rest. Meanwhile, Orion arrived fast, like a cosmic microwave baby, and number 2 was already on the way. Kent's channel became their cover, a mix of truth and fiction that kept the galaxy's eyes off their backyard. "You okay with this?" he asked, his voice softening as he looked at her. "Sticking around, dealing with my bad Wi-Fi and raccoons that steal the trash." Kaylee turned to him, her hand finding his, her touch sparking that familiar buzz. "I've got you," she said, her smile as bright as a supernova. "I've got Orion, coffee, and a million subscribers who think I'm a voice filter. Earth's chaos suits me." Kent pulled her closer, kissing her forehead where the glow was strongest. "Good, 'cause I'm thinking we keep one of these rugrats here full-time. Let him chase squirrels, eat dirt, live the hybrid dream. Maybe Orion can levitate me a beer someday." Her laugh rang out, clear and wild, and Orion chirped back from the yard, floating the tennis ball right into Kent's free hand. "He's learning," she said, smug as ever. "You're a natural at this, Kent Fenton." As the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, Kent tightened his grip on her. Life was loud, weird, and perfect. A YouTuber, an alien, and their levitating kid, rewriting the stars one video at a time.